tonight, because I didn't want to run out of time. Tonight we're not going to do the games that we have, because I want to kind of get into this topic so we don't run out of time. What we're going to talk about now, as we shift a little bit in the topic of tonight, is about getting those things that you desire is easier than you think. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of us walk in throughout our lives very similar to the way that animals react and respond. That just means that with an animal, they're instinctive. You do something to an animal, a lot of times you can know exactly what it's going to do. But we're made differently. We're co-creators. That means that one of the reasons why we don't fit into situations is because that we were built with a co-creative component. We were created as God is created, meaning that we have the ability to change circumstances. We have the ability to create circumstances and things. We have the ability to change our mind. And so therefore it makes us and empowers us and gives us a unique ability. And all of those things start. All those things, all these abilities, the strengths that we have, starts here in the mind. And so one of the things that I realized in my life, and I'm going to be very transparent with you, is that I don't recall being in elementary school, high school, middle school, or college, church, college, anywhere, and somebody taught me about the mind. Yeah, I may have heard in church, yeah, you got to believe, you got to this, that, the other. You got to do these different religious practices, or you got to pray, you got to do all these things. And how many of you guys like myself, found some things in your life that you wanted to change, but you just kind of felt stuck? How many of you guys felt like, man, you try to do this and you try to do that, but at the end of the day, you find yourself taking one step forward and two steps back? Or how many times you feel like you make up your mind, you make up a decision at that moment, like, you know what, bam, I'm not going to do that anymore. But then you find yourself doing the same thing you promised yourself not to do. How many of you guys find yourself have you looked at your surroundings? Or you looked at your surrounding, or you heard something on the news, or you read something in the paper, or somebody else told you something, and all of a sudden, it seemed like it was done to you. Because again, the way you process it, the way you processed it was one of those things where now it's impacting you. And so again, when I got a chance to learn, and one of the things that I encourage you to do is to continue to learn. Because at the end of the day, there's two different spectrums to what we do and how we experience life. On one side, the more knowledge we have on a situation, and then the understanding that we have, leads us to greater awareness and greater application. So on one hand, we have the knowledge of something. How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, what does it take for this? The more knowledge we have leads us to a greater, and then when we understand it, when we really understand it, how does it apply to me? How does it apply to my circumstances? Then it leads to a greater awareness. Energy and knowledge is neither created or destroyed. It's always here. The way to fly a plane was always here. The way to have the internet was always here. The remote control and the infrared beams, all that was always here. It wasn't until that someone became aware of it that we were able to take advantage of it. And so I say to you, whatever it is in your life that you're going through, the answer to it is here. It's there. It's here for you. It may take some work on your part to get knowledge about it. And then in getting knowledge, get an understanding of it. And as you get an understanding of it, you can then have greater awareness around it. And then you can apply what it is that you understand. And that's on one side. And on the other side, it's totally different. Because now when you have ignorance, that means the state of mind of not knowing. When you are ignorant on something, how do I get healthy? How do I have a good relationship with my husband or wife or children? How do I tell my boss this? How do I come up with this ideal? How do I overcome this situation? How do I do this? When I'm ignorant of it, then the ignorance leads then to doubt. It then leads to worry. Then it leads to fear and anxiety. And then it leads to dis-ease, which then leads to disintegration. So we have it again. We have ignorance, which leads to doubt and fear. Doubt and fear then leads to worry. Okay? Then worry then leads to dis-ease. And so when we have that, dis-ease then leads to disintegration. And so remember, so the key thing in our life, the biggest enemy in our lives, the biggest enemy in your life, if you're spiritual, it's not the devil. If you're faith-based, it ain't Lucifer, Satan. He ain't your enemy. He's not your enemy. The biggest enemy you have, I have, is ignorance. It is the state of not knowing. How many times you had a situation in your life where before you had the knowledge of something, it was overcoming you. The pressure was on you. You didn't know which way you're going to turn. It could have been how to pay a bill. It could have been how to do something on the job. It could have been how to overcome this habit. It could have been how to do something. It seemed like it was beating you up. But then once you got knowledge of it, and then you understood it. Then you become aware of what you can do about it. Then hope arrived about your situation. And then you had greater application. And so that same principle happens for everything. But as I mentioned, it's all going to be and started in here. And so that's what I want to talk to tonight. I'm going to share with you tonight. See, one of the things about us, and I encourage you, these videos that I'm doing here, listen, I didn't make this stuff up. This stuff been here. But just through studying and learning and gaining and understanding, I get a chance to be more aware, and I get a chance to now apply, and I want to share with you. And so here's one of the things that I learned, is that we as human beings, we think in pictures. We think in pictures. So if I say, what is on your, what is inside your refrigerator on the right-hand side? Or if I say, what color is your car? Or if I say, what did you look like when you got married or you went to the prom? What did you have on? Instantaneously, you created a picture. And that picture now defines what you do and how you feel about what it is that you see. If I said to you, I want you to think about a time when you felt you kind of let yourself go. You were going through a health and nutrition, season where you wasn't really eating what you should. You wasn't necessarily doing what you should have done. And so you was unhealthy. I want you to think about that moment. I want you to see yourself. What did it look like? I guarantee you saw a picture that you might have taken on your phone or that you had, or you saw in the mirror. I guarantee you did that because we think in pictures. And so if I say to you, what does your mind look like? If I say, what does your mind look like? Then most people will think about their brain. They will see their brain as their mind. But our brain is not our mind. Our brain is basically the central nervous system that helps control this physical body, and is that connector that allows us from the spiritual, the intellectual, to the physical. That's the central nervous system of all of our being here, our physical body. But our mind is something different. And so in my studying of, the mind and really understanding about human potential and why do we do what we do, And how do we overcome those things in our life? And how do we get, if we're God's greatest creation, and if we're co-creators, and if as we think, so will we, as we continue to think, so will remain. If those are true, if I have the ability to create and call a thing that's not as if it was, if I got the ability to speak to a mountain and move, then wait a minute, why isn't that happening in my life? What is it that I'm doing? Is it really somebody else that's holding me back? Or what is it about me? So I'm going to share something with you. Here was an illustration that was created to help us, a picture of the mind, okay? A picture of what, for us to grasp, what does the mind look like? And this one, again, I can't remember this. I got this from Bob Proctor, but he got it from somebody else. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it as we kind of go. So what you see there is this basically our little stick man. It's this big circle. And think of our mind as this box, this circle right here. Okay, we have in our mind, we have the conscious, and then at the bottom we have the subconscious. And then we have our body. And so as you think about that, there's certain factors of the subconscious and the conscious mind. Number one, in the conscious mind, the top part of our mind, this is where, and I want you guys to see it over there as well, so it's not, that glare is not on it. There you go. So in the top part of the mind is where we think. In our conscious mind is where we think. That's where things come into us through our senses, what we taste, what we touch, what we feel, what we hear, okay? It comes in there. And so that's where we think. But the subconscious mind is our emotional mind. That is where we feel. That's where the emotional component of our mind. And so we can have a lot of things that we're thinking about. But once it comes in the conscious mind, it then goes down into the subconscious mind. And so when we think about it, the top part of our mind, it brings in information. What you're listening to me saying right now is your conscious mind. Okay? It's getting in your conscious mind. That's how we receive information. Through our senses. Through our conscious mind. But after it gets in, then it gets in our subconscious mind. Which is the deep part. Which in spirituality, they call it your heart. Okay? In some other places, they call it the inner person. The deep part. Now here's the thing about the conscious mind. The conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject whatever comes in. So that means if something comes in, you can accept it or you can reject it. You have the ability to choose. That's why they say you got to be careful of what you watch. You got to be careful about what you say. You got to be careful of what you're listening to. Then here's why. Because when things come in, this conscious mind, when things come in, it automatically goes to the subconscious mind. And here's the thing about the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not reject anything. That means that the subconscious mind will always accept everything as if it's real. Now, if that's the truth, which it is, that puts a lot of stake and emphasis on what am I listening to? What am I saying to myself? What am I thinking about? Because if my subconscious mind is accepting everything, then that means that if I allow something to get through, and if I allow something to get in me, and it goes to my subconscious mind, then it holds on to it. And remember, that subconscious mind is where I feel. That subconscious mind is where my emotions are loud. And then after it comes to the subconscious mind, conscious, subconscious, then it grabs this feeling and emotion, then it sends it down to the body to bring forth the actions. And so let's say you're watching a movie, you're watching a horror movie, you see it with your conscious mind, you're hearing it, it gets on the inside of you. the emotions of fear and pain and hurt or whatever may gets in there. And then all of a sudden it sends vibration down to your body, and then your body naturally reacts because you allowed it to get all the way through. It went from your conscious to subconscious to your body. And so when you think about your life, when you think about the ideals that we embrace, we're thinking about here. And again, what do we think about then gets in, and then there's an emotion tied to it, whether good or bad. After it gets here, it sends it to our body. And so that's why we have to be so careful about what it is that we listen to. We have to be so careful about what it is that we think about. Because at the end of the day, we should always think about what we want versus what we don't want. Because if I'm thinking about what I don't want, and it gets on the inside of me, in my heart, in my subconscious, then it's going to naturally tell my body what to do. Whether to fight, whether to flight, whether to have good vibrations, whether to have bad vibrations, whatever it be. If I think about something, so here we go now, let's make it practical. If I think about a situation as negative, all right, let's say I watch the news. Let's say I wake up in the morning and I watch the news first thing in the morning. And I let it into my senses. I let it in my conscious mind. Okay? And I don't reject it when they say something bad, something negative. Oh, the world is going, you know what I'm saying? The world is going bad. Or, oh, you know what I mean? You got this in the political system. You got this is happening, these layoffs. If I don't deal with that, if I accept it, then it gets inside of my subconscious. Automatically, I'm going to now attach emotions to it. If it was bad news, then, oh my goodness, I'm nervous for the kids at school. Or all things, I can't go outside, or I can't travel, I can't do this, or the job, or the market is this, or this is happening. And then what does it do? Then it tells my body what to do. And so we got to remember, on the other side of it, on the flip side, what if I embrace good thoughts? Every day, we eat. Every day we take care of the physical part of the nutrition. But how many days and how often do we develop the mind? And again, that's the purpose of what we're talking about here. And so again, if we did, you know what I mean? So there are 6 faculties of the mind. 6 faculties of the mind. And what I want you guys to do, if you can, write in, if you can, the 6 faculties of the mind. Okay? Type in the 6 faculties of the mind. And for the remainder of the time, I'm going to share with you the different 6 faculties of the mind, because majority of people are living as animals. They are living as animals. And what do I mean by that? Am I calling you an animal? No. But they live as an animal. What does that mean by that? That means that we are not utilizing the greatest gift that we have, to be like God is. We are not utilizing the greatest thing we have and the reason why we're here on this earth. To have dominion, to have authority, to rule and domain in the area of our gifting. Because what are most people only doing? They're feeling, they're hearing, they're seeing, they're tasting, and they're touching. And that determines how they view life. But tonight, I'm going to encourage you that as you start to understand what are these 6 higher faculties of your mind, then I guarantee you, I need you to watch this over and over and over. Because then the first time you hear, you're going to hear one thing. The next time you're going to hear something else. But it takes that. Just like physical muscle, we have to, if you don't work your physical muscle, you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And it's the same thing with our mental muscles. We have to work our mind. We have to work our mind. And so again, I'm going to share with you guys, okay, we had a couple people kind of chimed in, okay. Sean said, does body fitness affect mental healthness and fights depression? It sure enough does. It does. Because again, there's a physiological effect that happens that when you make it up in your mind and you put your body, see, in order for you to do physical, there's something happening mentally that allows you to go forward and allow you to push through. And so the endorphins and the things that's being developed through the physical part actually impacts the mind. Because you start to think, I'm getting better. You start to think, I'm overcoming. Nobody is working out thinking, oh man, I'm just fat and I'm never gonna get better. You know, you may think that, hey, that may be my situation, but deep in your heart, I know you know that you're doing something to get better. And then the hormones, the endorphins, okay, the serotonin that's released cause you to feel a little better, which cause you to think about life a little different. Okay, and so again, that is actually the opposite way. That is the reverse way of how we walk in power, which is by looking at waiting for the body to feel something for the mind. But what I want to give you the empowerment is, it starts here, and then this determines what this does, and then this determines how this feels. So I'm going to go through these 6 right now. The first one is imagination. I know you guys guessed that one, okay? So the imagination, see, the imagination is one of our 6 higher mental faculties. And see, as a child, we use our imagination. Everybody has it. Our imagination is a great gift that we've been given because it allows us to see beyond this, you know what I mean? Beyond just what we see. It allows us to go into vision. It allows us to imagine. It allows us to dream. But think about our life. Think about our society. After a certain age, people say, stop dreaming. They say, stop daydreaming. A person, how many times you might have had something that you wanted to conquer and accomplish, and somebody said, oh, man, that ain't even real, man. Come down to earth. No, you're created with a great imagination. And so remember this, as a child, if you have these great dreams and these big ideas, you know, you think about the little girls, and we always, those that have daughters, when they see themselves as a princess, and they get in their conscious mind, they see themselves as the princess, and it gets inside the subconscious, and they start to, man, I'm a princess, I feel good, I'm beautiful, this, that, and the other. And then their body feels, and they say, I'm so pretty, and right. And so now it gets on the inside because that imagination. And now they walk around like that. The same thing for the boys. When the boys see themselves, when I was young, man, when I was on back in Camden, New Jersey, the imagination for me was, I was like, man, I'm Bo Jackson. I'm B-Bo Jackson, man. That's who I am out here on this concrete, and I'm putting moves and this, that, and the other. My imagination allowed me to go into the NFL. It allowed me to do moves. And then guess what? I got that in my mind that it's possible. It's possible. I watch the football games and allow my imagination to run. Man, that's possible. If it happens for them, it can happen for me. Allow my imagination. It's one of my higher faculties. You know what I mean? Till I can use it. And so remember this, the subconscious accepts everything. So if I bring it in and I accept it, then that means that guess what? And I give it emotion to it. That can be me. That's me. That's me. That's me. I see it. I see a picture of it. Remember, we think in pictures, and I can see it. I can do it. I can accomplish this. And even though things happen and we go through ups and we go through downs, but it's still in there. I'm focusing on what I want versus what I don't want. And then it produces what I do in my body. And so remember, we can use our imagination for good, or we can use it for bad. Imagine a person who all of a sudden is going through a tough time, or all of a sudden they're watching negative things or listening to negative things, or they just have a negative mindset, and they use their imagination. Say, oh man, you know what? He must be out there cheating on me. Or, oh man, you know what? This is around the same time last year that everybody get released from work. Or, oh man, they say, oh man, this must be too good to be true. What did you do? You used your imagination to get it in. You accepted those thoughts. You let it in your subconscious. It put the emotions around it, and then it gave you what you really desired, what you attracted to you. So you attracted those things to you. So what I'm saying, think about what you want versus things you don't want. Okay, the number 2 thing we have, the higher faculty, is we have our will. Our will allows us to focus and to concentrate. Our will, like I will do this. I'm willing myself. Sometimes, you guys, it may be easier to will yourself to do something. But other times, life can be hard. Life can be downright hard and hit you on the blind side. And it may take everything in you to will yourself to do what's right. But your will allows you to focus and concentrate on what you want. Remember this, our mental is just like our muscles, our physical. Meaning if you don't work the physical, you lose the strength of it. If you don't work the mind, the ability to focus and concentrate, then all of a sudden you'll find that your mental ability, your ability to focus is wavering. Think about the magnifying glass. I'm sure somebody probably did it before. You go outside in the sun and you put that magnifying glass on a piece of leaf, and because the energy of the sun that's still here, that still has all the power, all the heat, because it's focused on one area, the intensity and the focus of that heat right there causes that leaf to start on fire. Same thing for you. When you focus on what I do want, when you get those mental imagery pictures on what you do want, you say, nope, I'm not just being distracted by what I hear through these senses, through what it looks like. This is what I'm holding on to. I'm getting that picture of what I do want, and I'm focusing on it. Just like that magnifying glass intensifies that heat and burns up that leaf, so when you focus on what it is you want and you put emotion around it, it gets in here. You make a decision to focus. Then it gets in the subconscious. You add emotion to it. And then your body produces it and you attract those same things that you want. Okay? The number 3 higher faculty is our perception. And our perception is really, at the end of the day, it's our point of view. It's how we view life. If I was to ask you right now, is life helping you? Is life happening to you, or is life happening for you? Do you feel that life is working, is on your side, or that you're always fighting against it? Do you feel that? Let me ask you, do you think that this situation or life is an uphill battle, or is it a smooth sailing? Or is it just a journey that you're on? It's your perspective. It's your point of view. You have the ability to choose and decide what your perception is. This perception also determines your attitude. Is your attitude in life? How do you see things? You can have 2 people go through the same situation, but because of their perception, how they consciously decided to define and look at that situation determined their attitude. Okay, as I said before, in my life, we grew up, we lived in shelters. We lived in Camden, New Jersey, man. Listen, we went through poverty. Man. There was times our lights wasn't on. Our car broke down on. Several times we had our electricity at times didn't work. Okay, we went through different things, man, that we went through in my life. I was injured several times. My injury pile was like this high. How many injuries I've had sustained in my life. I mean, I had a marriage. I was married. I got divorced. Okay. I had illnesses. I had sicknesses. I went through anxiety at times, depression. I went through all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I went through that stuff because it made me who I am today. My perception, my definition of those things. Did it feel good when I was going through it? No. But am I happy I went through it? Am I joyful that I went through it? Am I glad that I've been battle tested and now I can come out of it and I can help somebody else? And I know I can overcome anything and everything that comes in my life to define me. Because to me, life is happening for me, not to me. But only you can define what does that look like in your life. And so remember, you have the ability to have perception. How are you defining it? If there's something, think about right now, the toughest thing you're going through right now. Think of whatever that may be. How do you define it? Is it breaking you? Is it destroying you? Or is it giving you an opportunity to get more knowledge, to get more understanding, to walk in a greater awareness and a greater application? What is it doing to you? You decide that. You decide it. And then you choose. Don't just let it come in. Don't let it just kind of come in. And don't check it at the door. That's why I heard someone say, listen, you got to think about what you're thinking about. Because if you're just allowing this stuff to come in, remember, when it gets on the inside, man, that subconscious holds on to it. Is this what I really want? If it ain't, we got to do something about it. Let me replace it with what I do want. And so I heard somebody say, man, if I told you about earlier, man, if people spoke what they think, then they'll be speechless. Because a lot of us are not thinking. And so I'm going to do an exercise. Okay, everybody, I want you to put your finger up in the air. Okay, put your finger up in the air. Everybody's white. Put your finger up in the air. Now I want you to put your finger, I want you to put it on your chin. Ready, go. How many of you guys, if any, put your finger on your cheek? If anybody put their finger on your cheek, they decided not to think. They just did what other people do. And so I say that, and I did that because that's how we're walking around in life. We're conforming to life. We're not thinking. And when we're not thinking, we're creating the environment we want. And we're creating an environment that we don't want. I say it's the environment that you want because it's the one that you're focusing on versus focusing on the things that you do want. The number four faculty that we have is our reasoning. Our reasoning. This is the thinking part of your brain. So watch this. When things come in, the news, situations, when things happen to you, this is the thinking part of your brain. This is the control center for your decisions, your reasoning. That means if somebody say, man, you know what? The economy is bad and the economy is bad and things are bad happening to you. Well, guess what? You have the ability to say, I know what they say about them, but that's not my situation. That's not happening to me. How many of you guys have heard things happen or things happening? And then all of a sudden you're like, it's happening to them. It's bound to happen to me. No. Your reasoning ability gives you the power and empowers you. Say, that may be happening to them, but it's not happening to me. And so remember, your reasoning gives you the ability to choose. And here's what happens sometimes, okay? If our conscious mind is where the things come in, and that's where we get to make the decision, that's where the reasoning happens, then there's some times that we're thinking about what we're thinking about. And then there's other times that we're just allowing things to come in. And so, for example, one of the dangers of just watching television, just watching television is that we're watching it and we're not really thinking about it, but everything we see is getting in. Everything we see is getting in. Everything we hear is getting in. But I guarantee you, as it gets in and it's going to that subconscious, it's bringing life. It may not show up then, but it may show up later. And so at the end of the day, we have to think about what we're thinking about. Okay? Think about it. Remember yourself, okay? Think about when you're driving down the road, okay? And you're driving. A lot of times when we first started to drive, you can probably remember, man, you was nervous. The person who taught you how to drive was nervous, and everybody, you were just so focused on everything. Your reasoning, you were so focused, you were focusing and concentrating on what was happening. But then after a while, if I rode with you now in your car and you've been driving for some time, I'm sure you're probably driving with your knee now. You probably, texting, you probably checking, stations out. You talking to the kids in the back, because now your subconscious is driving because it already knows it. But I guarantee you, if you start driving that way with your subconscious and you're just rolling, and all of a sudden it starts raining and you're next to a Big Mac truck, all of a sudden you start to focus on what you're doing. And so I say all that to say a lot of us, we live from our subconscious. It's the autopilot. But we got to decide what's in there. What am I allowing in there? What am I deciding to be developed in there that comes out when I want it to and when I don't? How many times we hear people, we hear stories where somebody went through something and they just snapped. They just snapped out of nowhere. Well, they didn't just snap that day. They've been embracing it, and it's been being fertilized, and it's been taking root for a long time. And it's just that situation allowed it to now respond. And so remember our reasoning. And the number 5 higher faculty is our memory. I hear people all the time say, man, listen, our memory is a very powerful tool. I hear people say all the time, I have a bad memory. That's not true. You don't have a bad memory. Nobody has a bad memory. You may have a weak memory, but it ain't bad. It's just weak. If I don't work in bench pressing, I'm going to have weak chest muscles. But the more if I exercise it, the stronger it gets. You can right now study and do some memory exercise games, okay? And all of a sudden increase your memory. You can do it. Everybody can do it. It's a default fail-safe cop-out when we say I have a bad memory. You don't. You're just not using it. And when you use it, a lot of times we can lose it. And so again, if you want to increase your memory, you want to do some mental exercise. And the last one, for the sake of time, the last one is our intuition. Our intuition is basically, it picks up the vibrations of other people. Everything in this world is in a state of vibration. There's nothing still. Doesn't matter what it is. Water's always moving. You look at a peanut, you know what I mean? You look at a peanut under a microscope, you'll see particles moving. It's always moving. Our cells, if you look at it under a microscope, they're always moving. Everything is in a constant state of vibration. And so intuition allows us to pick up other people's vibration. We can sense when somebody is mad. We can sense the energy when somebody is feel good. How many of you guys come home sometimes, you go in the office and you just see somebody and whoa, it's something about them, man. They ain't in a good mood. They didn't say anything, but you can just sense, just something ain't right. Because that's our intuition. That's a gift. That is one of our faculties. There are some people that are highly and better developed in that than other people. That means you can walk around and I can sense what you're going. Like right now, I have a good ability to discern. When I'm around people, I can discern what they're thinking. I can discern, how they're feeling. You can say whatever you want out your mouth, but I can discern that energy because I'm in tune with my intuition. And so intuition, when we think about it, you want to remember this. You want to listen to your intuition. You want to listen to it because it's that, like some people say, prayer is like talking to God, but intuition is God talking to us. How many times you ever do something and someone told you, man, call this person. Or intuition says, you know what, man, go another way, go another route. Or you know what, or do this, or do this, or just say this. And out of nowhere, people picked up. You wind up dialing in, or all of a sudden you just, call this person. And they say, man, I was just thinking about you. Why? Because we were on the same frequency level. Think about it as this. Think about a radio station. And if your favorite radio station is 102.1, okay, and the other radio station, and right now you're on 98.5. And once you get to, if one person is on 102.1, and once you tune in to that level, to that vibration, you guys are on the same page. That's one of the things that happen in relationships. When two people are together around each other and they start to understand with each other. Okay, husband and wife or mother and child. That's that inner intuition that those mothers feel like, I just feel something's going on with my child. Because again, you're on that vibration. All of a sudden, you can feel it. You can sense it. You're on the same level that they're on right now. None of this stuff is spooky. All this is science. This is life. But once we understand it, remember, knowledge, understanding, greater awareness, and greater application. And so at the end of the day, when we walk with greater intuition, we'll be able to discern. So no, here's the thing. I don't care what you do on your job, at your home. When you walk with and you develop your intuition, your intuitive skills, first of all, it starts by knowing you and then starting to understand the vibration of other people and what's going on. Whether you're in sales, instantly your sales are going to go up. Whether you're in productivity, working on your job, it's going to get better. Whether you're in relationships, with your wife, with your children, with your husband, whatever it is, instantly, boyfriend, girl, it's going to get better. Why? Because you're understanding and you're tuning in to the vibration that's happening, and then you are now making decisions to create the best environment. Remember, focusing on what I do want versus what I don't want. I'm having a disagreement or argument with somebody. Let me focus on what I do want and not what I don't want. Do I want to keep, defending myself and but this is how I feel. This is what he said. Do I want to focus on, and what is that going to give me? That's going to give me more bang. It's going to give me more disagreement. It's going to give me a greater tension. Focus on what I do want or what I don't want. And so if I get a chance to perceive, perception, and understand, remember in an argument, two people are arguing, both of you guys are right in your own eyes. But once you understand how they're perceiving it, you're able to make a decision to get on the same level and get ultimately what you desire. And so again, man, I hope this was helpful, man, as I go through again the 6 faculties: your imagination, your will, perception, reasoning, memory, and intuition. And so again, you guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. As I mentioned, feedback forms. I'm going to post on the page. You guys. Feedback form for you to fill out. It takes just a couple minutes. Share with me what your thoughts were tonight, what you felt led in tonight. Remember, watch these videos, and then apply them. Apply what you're learning. Keep watching it, because the power of suggestion is amazing. So if I'm suggesting something, or as you're listening to this, you all of a sudden you start to suggest things to yourself, or thoughts come, that means because now you're in tune with the vibration of what and the energy of what you're exposed to. So that means I'm delivering a certain energy right now. You feel that, you sense that. And when you watch these, you tune into that energy, and it inspires you, it motivates you, it encourages you. And so if people are negative and people are down, try to, man, get away from them. Get away from them. Because you don't want that negative energy to rub off on you. Okay? You get around people. Okay? You get around people who can help bring you up. And that's why I say, listen to these things. All right? Get tuned, get in tune with these resources. Okay? So remember, last thing I'll say, who is it? Matthew. Man, listen, the book, they said it should be out back in about 2 weeks from printing. So in about 2 weeks, man, listen, I'm going to celebrate. You guys celebrate. Okay, we're all celebrating. Okay, that'll be there. And then I'll keep you guys posted on the workbook when it, again, when the workbook will be available online. Okay, again, the next level mental playbook that I created. Okay, it's basically the mental game plan for your personal and professional success. I'll let you know when that's available as well. And then again, if you have children, youth and teenagers, okay, don't wait. Right now, between April and April 3rd, I have a special offer for $9.95 for the introductory level. For the motivational, the mentoring, the motivational coaching for your youth. Again, this is a 2020 motivational club for youth and teenagers. At the end of the day, we're a community. It takes a village, okay? And so again, DonovanDariusMotivation.com is a website for all the speaking where it has a 2020 club. You can read more about it, okay? You can get engaged. Right now as we speak, man. Listen, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for participating. I thank you for being engaged, being involved, okay? My life's motto, man, make an impact and leave your legacy. I'm Donovin Darius. I am your motivational forum, motivational coach. It's been my pleasure, my privilege to serve you. Now you go out and go do great things. I'm always in your corner, man. I'm always in your corner, and I'm always going to celebrate you. All right? Thank you, guys. You guys be blessed now. Peace.